Dragon Ball Super episode 125 is now officially in the history books as we make our way towards Dragon Ball Super episode 126, involving Vegeta surpassing the powers of a god in his battle against Toppo. And now we understand more or less as to what Toppo can really do, as we finally get a rematch between both Vegeta and Toppo. But the only question is, what is going to be the end result of Vegeta's new power having to clash against Toppo's? Joining us here today, guys, is Jessica, also known as Bubbles from Popo's Bedroom, and sharing our thoughts and opinions as to what we predict for Dragon Ball Super episode 126. And again, if you guys are new to this channel, consider punching that subscribe button, guys, alongside turning on all notifications. That way you guys can be the first to be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto this channel. Hashtag notification squad. Jessica, welcome back onto the channel, as I do want to talk to you about Toppo, because Toppo, as seen during Dragon Ball Super episode 125, was very impressive. He was very impressive, unlike the usual Toppo that we're used to and seeing him, you know, strike the Justice Dab and doing the Justice Flash. Here we get to see a different Toppo be introduced, and I really enjoy it because it's different, he's serious, none of that comedical stuff. And as we go into episode 126, it's very concerning to know that something may potentially happen to Vegeta, which is why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I wanted to get your take as to how you personally feel on seeing Toppo fight Vegeta once more, especially now in seeing Vegeta struggle a tad bit while fighting him. And even during the episode preview, we get to see how Vegeta is getting flung around here and there, but we also get to see Vegeta on the offensive and kicking Toppo's leg and getting the upper hand on him here and there. So seeing this, do you believe that there's going to be a stalemate between the two characters, and in the idea that they might ring each other out together, or perhaps maybe one is definitely going to get the best of the other? So what's your overall take on seeing Toppo fight Vegeta again? As I believe personally, I don't think Vegeta's gonna go. I definitely think 17's gonna go, and we're gonna more or less talk about that as we progress on forward. But I definitely feel like 17's gonna go, but Vegeta and Toppo are both gonna stay, as I do believe, in my opinion, Toppo is going to put Goku in a state to where he's going to be forced in using UI again. So what are your overall thoughts on seeing Vegeta fight Toppo? What do you think the end result might be? And by the end of it, do you think it's a good idea for Vegeta to break away from Goku and fighting Jiren just to fight Toppo? I
think that it's pretty significant that Vegeta is going to be breaking off from Goku versus Jiren in this next episode. Because in the beginning of the tournament, we were promised a Vegeta versus Toppo fight.
Yeah.
And that's something that, you know, we got to see a little bit of a teaser for it. But I guess, like, you know, as I've previously said, it was too soon to let either character go at that point. So, you know, they kind of ended that fight sooner than it began.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it makes sense that we finally get to see the real Toppo versus Vegeta fight that we've been waiting to see since the beginning of the tournament. So that is something that I am definitely excited for, because, you know, that's something that I wanted to see back before Toppo had this God of Destruction power.
Yeah. I mean, considering that the first fight was absolutely terrible, I mean, because all they really did was either have a stalemate or they talked a lot. So the first fight really wasn't all that. But as we go into this, how do you feel, you know, seeing Vegeta break off from Goku to help out possibly 17 and Frieza? And as an end result, what are your overall thoughts as to how this fight's going to come to an end? Because Toppo considerably right now is on a different level as compared to Frieza, 17, anybody else that we've seen so far. So do you think that when Vegeta fights him that he has a chance, or do you think that it's going to possibly be like a double KO? What's your overall thoughts going into that fight? Because it's hard to say, and with all that Hakai energy that Toppo's been displaying, that's a problem. That really is a problem. I mean, it just goes to show that he was able to flick away Golden Frieza with just one blast. So how effective do you think that's going to be as he nears and fights Vegeta in the upcoming episode?
Well, the different levels thing, I mean, obviously we see the difference in the way Toppo's fighting now and how he's just able to completely toss aside. He literally called Frieza trash in this past episode. He was like, you belong in the garbage.
Yeah, and he threatened to kill him, but he wasn't able to because he knew he would get disqualified.
So I think that it's kind of really smart that Vegeta is breaking off from that fight with Goku and Jiren, because he sees that, you know, the other members are struggling against this. You know, he may not be top tier like Jiren, he may not be at Jiren's level at this point, but, you know, he is displaying the power that, you know, he's seen Beerus display this power before, he's seen the Hakai get shown before. So, you know, I think it's just that intriguing factor of knowing that a character like Toppo is able to pull off such an ability, such an attack, and he's able to literally surround himself with the aura of Hakai, that, you know, I think it's intriguing to him. And so maybe he sees a little bit that since Frieza and 17 are having a bit of a tough time with Toppo, that Toppo could easily push them to the side. And then there needs to be somebody left to fight Toppo at that point. So I think, you know, Vegeta is kind of disregarding Frieza and 17's existence at the moment and kind of stepping in and saying, this is my fight now, because maybe he feels he has a way to get it over with Toppo. Maybe he's figured out a way to ring Toppo out that maybe 17 and Frieza haven't, and that's why he's so confident stepping into it.
I just feel like Vegeta's role going into next week's episode is going to be so significant because we don't really know as to what this life-risking attack is. It could be the Gamma Burst attack, it could be a sacrificial attack. A lot of people have been talking about Vegeta blowing himself up, which I really don't see happening ever again. That was a one-time thing with Majin Vegeta, and I don't see Vegeta blowing himself up again. A lot of people were saying that perhaps maybe if Vegeta realizes that he's on the brink of defeat, that he might take Toppo with him. In terms of like telling a good story and concluding a good story, how do you see this story coming about and concluding? Do you see Toppo beating Vegeta? Do you see Vegeta beating Toppo? Or do you see both of them remaining until the unforeseeable end? Because with episode 131 approaching, that's going to be the final episode. So do you see these two fighting and then breaking off again? Or do you see them fighting and then ultimately just coming to a conclusion? What do you think?
Well, I think that the conclusion has to happen sooner than later, you know what I'm saying? So, like, the easier they're able to get the other characters out of the way, the easier the focus narrows down to Jiren. Because at the end of the day, you know, from everything we've seen from Jiren, he's clearly the main focal point so far of the tournament.
Right.
So the easier the other characters are able to get shafted to the side, the easier we're able to narrow down on who it's going to be at the end versus Jiren. So I think that, you know, with just a few episodes remaining, the quicker we can get these other characters out of the way after seeing their full strengths displayed, then I think, you know, that's going to be what's going to give you the segue to the ending battle with Goku and Jiren. And, you know, I'd like to see Vegeta become victorious over Toppo, just because, you know, I want everything in me to not want Toppo to win right now. But, you know, I mean, I feel pretty confident that Vegeta has some stuff up his sleeve, because obviously he got that addition to Super Saiyan Blue that we weren't really expecting him to get. So I think he's still, I'm not saying he has another transformation up his sleeve, but we have seen him pull some reckless attacks before. Like you just said, him blowing himself up as Majin Vegeta. We've seen him be a very reckless character before, and he knows what he has to do to get shit done, essentially. So, I don't think he rationalizes things before he does them. So I definitely think we're gonna see a pretty brutal battle from him, and hopefully he will be victorious. That's what I'd like to see.
Now, what about 17? Because I don't really see 17 making it out of this. I think that, in my opinion, Vegeta's gonna stay. I also think that Toppo's gonna stay. I think Frieza's gonna stay, and the obvious two, Jiren and Goku, are gonna stay. But I don't think that 17's gonna make it out of this. A lot of people are saying that perhaps maybe this is 17's time to go. Do you see 17 getting eliminated in the upcoming episode, or do you see it to where he's gonna be around, but, you know, only to the extent to where he's gonna be protecting people with his shield and nothing more? So I think he's gonna go. Do you feel the same, or do you think he's gonna stay by any chance? What are your thoughts?
Well, we got to see his shield. We got to see his force field getting cracked down this episode. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. We got to see the cracking in his force field. And so, I mean, to bring up the point of him being around just to serve as a protection for the other remaining characters, in a way that does make sense, but also narrowing it down to the thought of his shield, his force field, was just cracking in this episode. It was,
yeah.
And if that's him just trying to protect himself, because we saw, last week, I think, when he encapsulated Topo as well in his force field.
In the shield, yeah.
Yeah, how much harder it was for him to hold it up. So, I mean, for him to serve as protection for, let's say, Vegeta against one of Topo's attacks, you know, not only does he have to try harder because there's two people, but he was already barely making it for just himself. So at this point, I mean, I'm not dissatisfied with what we've seen from 17 so far. I mean, we got to bring him back after not having seen him for so long, and I think he came back as a pretty decent fighter. And he did really good in the tournament, in my opinion, personally. I was satisfied as a 17 fan from what I got to see of him. So if he went out this next episode, which, in my opinion, I think he will, because I don't really see, now that his force field is cracking down, and his attacks are literally disintegrating in front of Topo, because at this point, you know, obviously we're all willing to say 17 can't touch Jiren. And knowing that his attacks are disintegrating off of Topo, I just think that moving forward, there's not really much he can do. So it would make more sense to just ring him out before, you know.
Absolutely. And I do also feel like he is running out of options. I feel like he's running out of options because as he was trying to evade Topo, he was even saying to himself, like, what do I do? Like, how do I combat this? And he was looking for his opening, as Topo pointed out. He was looking for an opening the whole time while he was fighting him. But I also feel like I think this is his time to go because, like you said, everybody right now currently, with the exception of Frieza getting knocked out, is exceptional beyond blue, which makes sense. I just feel like with 17, I think he's gonna put up a very good fight, but by the end, whatever Hakai energy Topo has, it's going to get the best of him, and that's gonna pretty much be the end of that. So by the end of it though, I see Vegeta remaining because I still stand by my opinion that I feel like they're gonna use Topo to trigger Goku into getting UI, into getting Ultra Instinct. And the reason for that is because I don't think that Jiren is going to be the guy to put Goku under that state of, you know, power again, because it's happened once before. And it only makes sense for someone else to do it, as we saw Kefla do it, because it'll set the fight up to where Goku fights, Ultra Instinct Goku fights Topo, beats Topo, because the only other person I can see beating Topo right now is possibly UI Goku, and then we have the inevitable fight with Ultra Instinct Goku having to fight Jiren, and then whatever happens there happens. That's not including if Vegeta and Frieza are still around, because if they are, it'll make it 3-on-1, if anything 1-on-1 with, you know, assistance on the side, because I still feel like Frieza's going to be kept until the end. A lot of people are saying, no, he's going to get wrung out by Jiren, by Topo. Listen, he almost got wrung out. Topo confirmed that he could have killed Frieza. He could have killed Frieza at any time, but he didn't want to get disqualified. So he kicked him, he nearly kicked him out the ring, and, you know, with 17 catching him, you know, we saw him, you know, avoid that. So we understand based on spoilers that, you know, Frieza's going to be working with 17 in using those rocks and his psychic powers to, you know, pretty much get the better of Topo here. So what I wanted to ask you personally is, what did you think of episode 125 in terms of Topo acquiring this energy? I really like the episode. However, I feel like it's a bit hypocritical for Zeno to allow an actual candidate to be a god in the ring, considering how strong he is. I mean, he has Hakai energy. I mean, that was proven. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch it and you will see that everything that Topo touched was disintegrating. He had Hakai energy. So how did you feel about that? Because off camera you spoke briefly about how you felt that it was BS how, you know, people were claiming that Kefla had an ass pull with her powers, but people are deeming it okay for Topo to have his God of Destruction power. So what's your take on that? What's your take on episode 124? And just to wrap things up, do you agree or disagree with Topo's current power in the Tournament of Power?
I disagree with Topo's current power in the Tournament of Power. I mean, you know, if Topo has this power on his own, good on him, you know, like, you're a candidate for the God of Destruction, like, you do you know what I'm saying? But like, when it comes down to it, for a member like this to be fighting in the tournament, then they might as well have let the other gods fight in the tournament as well.
Right.
Because there's specific, you know, seeing how he can actually utilize the Hakai energy and, you know, pulling moves like that and just being virtually unfazable by attacks. It's just, that's something that, you know, you would almost wish they'd get disqualified for that, for even thinking that a member like that is okay to bring forth in the tournament. Because, you know, I mean, if the gods themselves is unfair for them to participate, then how come someone who is a candidate for the god is not unfair to participate? And I think it's a little bit of, you know, BS that we weren't seeing any good fights from him before this episode.
Yeah, because a lot of us wanted to see Topo possibly fight, you know, other characters of that nature before he tapped into this, but I don't know, like, they saved it until this very point. I mean, why is it? Why is it that you believe that they did that? I mean, is it for a logical reason? Because this entire tournament, like I said before, he hasn't done anything. He hit Kaba, he pretty much flexed on Goku for not letting Ribrianne transform and all that kind of garbage. You know, we never really saw Topo in action, but now that we are seeing him in action with this new power, you got to admit it's pretty impressive. But, you know, just wrapping things up, do you feel like it's being a bit rushed, or it looks like things are being done like in a way to where it just feels rushed? Because out of nowhere he gets this power, even though it was already stated back in February of last year that Topo was a, you know, candidate and he was going to be taking Belmont's place. Even in the manga it confirms this. Do you feel like now it more or less like overshadows a lot of that, and it kind of like makes you feel like, okay, well, everything just feels rushed? I mean, what's the point? And with that being said, like, by the very end, who do you see ringing out Topo? If he does get rung out, you know, by a specific person, do you see them having to work together to take him out, or do you see like a specific person ringing out Topo? Like, what do you think?
Well, it definitely, in my opinion, 110% feels rushed, because there's very limited episodes left, and to introduce such a powerful power from this character that we've seen close to zero from, it just seems so unreal to get to see this character out of nowhere just bodying, when we haven't, like, we saw him get upset over a rip in his you know, getup. Yeah. And that's the most we saw him like do significantly. And so, you know, it's a little bit frustrating to see the transition of him going from just a regular average fighter to going full on God of Destruction mode. And I mean, you know, I really feel like Universe 11, the way they've set up Universe 11 is just so broken and just so hard for them to find a segue to beat them. Because we already have a character like Jiren that's at the point where we know, you know, if Jiren looks at you the wrong way, he could probably kill you.
Right.
And then, you know, having someone like Topo now who can't even get hit by attack, it really seems like Universe 11 is just too overly broken that it almost like begs the question, can Topo get wrung out? I mean, unless if now, since the stage has been half annihilated in a way, like it's kind of been broken
split
up
in like 3 pieces. It's so wacky.
So I mean, maybe with a faulty in the arena, now there's a, because I could see that them using a faulty in the arena as a good segue to drop someone out, because now there's more like cracks and crevices for somebody to fall through.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like that's gonna be an easy, cheap way to get someone out if they really can't figure out a way to beat them. Because truly, I feel if someone like 17 or Frieza at this point is able to ring out Topo, somebody who is as powerful as a God of Destruction, being that he is a candidate for a God of Destruction and can use the Hakai energy, then that's just dumb, because 17 and Frieza should not be of that level. And we got to see Goku when he was fighting Beerus and know that he was not even on par with half of Beerus' energy. And if Topo is a candidate of the God of Destruction and has the Hakai energy, then should they also not be even half of what Topo can reach?
Well, so I mean, that depends on the scaling, because the scaling for you know, the Tournament of Power has been all over the place. So you can't really even make a bare determination as to what the bare minimum is for a character now, because feats are always being changed. But I personally love what they did with Topo, because he's not a joke anymore, at least, you know, to me. He was a joke before when he had the suit, justice this, justice that, dabbing here, dabbing there. I don't think anybody liked that. And now that he's serious, I loved how he just abolished, you know, the whole concept of justice. Because when they asked him, or at least when he even brought up the notion of justice, he was like, justice, you know, no more wasting time. You know, like, he came to the realization, like, okay, well, I have to do this. So I genuinely appreciated that, because I didn't want to see the whole justice garbage anymore. Like, now I want to see a serious fighter get in there and just duke it out. So any final thoughts before we go in terms of episode 126? Expectations for Vegeta, expectations for Topo, expectations for Goku versus Jiren, before we close out and go into the next episode?
Well, expectations for Vegeta is just hoping to get to see him kick some more ass,
right,
and getting to see him utilize this new form he was granted. Because, you know, to my knowledge in the anime, Goku doesn't have this form yet, so Vegeta is the only one that has this cool power-up to his blue form. So I'm really excited to get to see that to the extent that he can bring it to, especially against a character like Topo, knowing now that Topo's not taking things as a joke anymore, and now he does mean business. And like you said, he threw away that whole justice gig. So knowing now that Topo is going to take things more seriously, and getting to see that against a new form from Vegeta that we really haven't gotten to see a lot of, is definitely something that I'm excited for going into the next
I
episode.
can't wait. I can't wait, because I really want to see what Vegeta's gonna do against Topo now. And I'm calling it right now, the only person that might get wrung out is 17. And as we transition from there, we're gonna have to wait and see. But let us know your thoughts down below, guys. If you guys agree or disagreed with what we said in the video. If you guys believe 17 is gonna stay. If you guys believe that Vegeta is gonna, you know, get wrung out, or the opposite, maybe Vegeta rings out Topo. Let us know your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new, hit that subscribe button, guys. Turn on all notifications. Also, guys, follow me at Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. All that will be linked down below. Also, check out and subscribe to Jessica's channel, also known as Popo's Bedroom. I will leave a link to her channel down below. She also covers Dragon Ball alongside various other things, so make sure you guys support her as well by clicking that link down below. Thank you all so much once again, and we'll be seeing you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.